Welcome back to Art Gem Interviews. This week we are here in the Soho Market with an amazing artist named
Phia.
Phia, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about your art practice. So, first of all, how long have you been in this beautiful art studio space? Can you tell us a little about the Soho Market here in Boston?
Yeah. So I've been in Soho for about a year and a half now. February was my 1 year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It is a very diverse space. There is a lot of artists. There's 4th floor of artists, and in the basement there's the vintage market, and I love it here.
How did you get involved in the Soho Market here? I know it's kind of sometimes can be a competitive process for artists to.
I would say pure luck.
Fair enough. And talent.
Yeah, that's true. So I had met with my friend who's an artist, Jamie. He has a studio next door, and he was looking for his tenant to fill his space. And as I was looking around, I saw this space, and I reached out to the person, and I got it.
So a little about your artwork. I think we have a piece in the frame here, and you always got new artwork rotating around. I always see it on Instagram and such. And do you want to talk a little about your inspirations and your imagery and color choices behind your work?
Yeah, sure. So most of my work reflects either my personal experience or it involves a lot of emotions. Most of these emotions are the ones that I'm feeling or the ones that I want to share with the world that I know a lot of people can relate to. And by doing so, I know that representation matters, so I use a choice of color that is very close to my skin tone, to people that look like me, and it helps more people to relate to my art, to feel connected to my art, basically.
Very beautiful. And how does that inspire your work, like coming from Boston? I know you were just talking a little about your new painting series here, coming from Haiti and coming to Boston, and your transition and your inspirations. You don't have to share all your work right now if you don't want to, but if you want to talk a little about that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm trying to write a story. As a painter, I feel like I'm compelled to share my story, share my experience, and I know that I know everybody's experience is an individual and personal experience, but I want more people to relate to me as I am Haitian American, and I know the Haitian American community in Boston is very big, and Haitian community in America in general is very big. So I want to keep my relations with my home country, Haiti, and use that to write my story, to paint my story.
Yeah. And you use oil paint throughout your paintings, and does that also play into your symbolic messages in your work, like the color choices and like even the materials that you use to paint with?
Yeah, I use really warm colors because Haiti is in the Caribbean. It's always warm. It's hot all year round. Sometimes it rains, but it's hot all year round.
Yeah.
And the choice of colors reflect the weather and how it makes me feel. Like when I go back home, how it makes me feel warm, and it basically brings me warmth.
Yeah. Yeah. And compared to Boston, maybe more of a rainy, cloudy. I mean, it's summertime right now. It's beautiful outside, but that contrast is interesting.
It is very interesting, and I can tell you that it was even more interesting when I witnessed my first winter here.
Absolutely. I understand that. Do you have inspirations of other artists that are around you, artists that you look up to, or?
There are a lot, but I am not good with names, but one that stuck with me is Kenneth Wiley. I don't know if you're familiar.
I think so, yeah. He does, he's in New York City, right? He does,
he painted Barack Obama. No, he painted.
Yes,
Yes, he painted
yeah.
Barack Obama.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and his work was at the MFA in Boston. So I love faces. I love portrait work. Anything that has to do with conceptual work. I love it, and he is one of my favorite artists.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. How has having a studio space like this been inspiring to you differently than maybe if you didn't have the studio space? Has it allowed you to create more work, create more paintings, like make more connections? How have you found that?
It definitely helped me put my name out there, make more connections, network much more.
Yeah.
And also it's definitely a great feeling, a different feeling than just having them stacked up in a corner in my room.
Yeah.
Then when I'm actually surrounded by them, I turn around and I can see one of my pieces.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good feeling. In terms of ups and downs, I've had some, like, come winter time it is slow because it's less traffic, less foot traffic. It's cold up in New Hampshire.
There's
up
a
in New England.
In New England, yeah. Is there? And there's a lot of people that come through here, right? I think that's kind of the one really cool thing about the Soho
First
Market.
Fridays and second Sundays, and come summertime it's always busy.
People are just walking through, coming to look at your work.
Yeah, and
studio
I make
visits.
great conversations, especially after
Yeah.
2 years of lockdown and
Yeah.
where you didn't get to talk to anybody. So it's much appreciated.
You listen to any music when you paint or podcasts or?
I do. I listen to Afrobeats. I love Afrobeats, and I also listen to podcasts, but the podcasts are a little bit distracting because I find myself talking to the podcast.
Okay.
So it's like, I want to be painting.
So
but
you like more of just getting in the zone, and I get that.
music is my thing.
All right, and my last question for you, Sophia, is do you have any art advice to artists out there that are trying to get into art? Maybe they want to get it to a beautiful studio space like this one day, or they want to progress their art like you. Do you have any advice for them?
Any advice? Do it. If you love it, do it. Everything will fall in line. The universe will help you. If that's what you want to do, I recommend 100%. I've been painting for 7 years now, and recently my dad brought back from Haiti one of my very first paintings, and I was like, good Lord, never. Ooh, but you can see the progress.
Yeah.
As you practice every day, you perfect your craft. You just work on yourself, work on your technique.
It's like a language.
You get better and better, even if you don't see it. But eventually you're going to take a step back, from what you did 2 years ago, last year, 3 months ago, and then you're going to see the change.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really love about painting is that every painting has its story, you know? Just like you said, your dad bring this painting home, it has its whole own story, you know? When you pull out your paintings here in the studio, this one, I was inspired by this and I walked past, you know? And I think that's one of the coolest things. And then also as the artist, you have this whole own appreciation for the work because you're the one who built it and created it and like...
You have a special bond with it.
Yeah.
That's your babies.
It's your babies, exactly. Well, beautiful work, and it was a pleasure. Sophia, keep up the great work.
Thank you.